Okay, welcome everybody to Pro Mindset Podcast. Today we have a Hall of Fame hoopster as our guest, Laurie Governor Curtis, by way of University of Richmond. And Laurie, I want to welcome you to Pro Mindset today.
Thank you so much, Craig. Glad to be here.
Okay, so you have an organization. You're the founder and CEO of On the Court Solutions.
Yes.
But here's what you told me before we got on air. Your company is really the on and off the court solutions because you help athletes make the transition to life after sport.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
On the court solutions. Yes.
So I'm not trying to mess you up, but you might have changed the name of your company to On and Off the Court Solutions. Okay. So you are an international speaker, you're a coach, you're an author, you have programs and trainings and workshops and coaching for people that are wanting to up-level their performance in whatever they do. So let's start out today by you giving everybody your story. What is your history? What put you in a position, what successes did you have as an athlete and as a mom and as a professional that should put you in a position where you now are coaching other people about it?
Sure. It has to go all the way back to when I started playing basketball. I didn't start playing until the 9th grade, which is unusual. Most kids are playing their sports at 5, 6, maybe middle school, but I didn't start until I was in 9th grade. And the only reason why I did that was because someone had told me that I should go ahead and try out for it. So that coach saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. So I did that. Once I got into that, I always knew I wanted to go to college, but I knew that I needed help getting there. So I just made up in my mind that I was going to get a scholarship. And then I did the work to get there. So I did get a scholarship, played at the University of Richmond, had a wonderful time there. Some ups and downs. We weren't very good my first few years, and we got a new coach in. So I had to go through a transition and see how I can manage through that. And I just had the opportunity to work with that coach, and she recruited some other players that would allow for us to do some great things at Richmond. So, but it all started with the mindset of wanting to be there and then doing the work to get there. I'm a mom of 2. I lost my husband in 2006. So I had to create my own space in my own way with my 2 kids. My son was going into the 8th grade. And you had to figure out, hey, what's next? What now? Life is going to happen. So you need to figure out what's the next move. I've always been focused on structure and process. And I think most athletes are. We have a system that we go through and that we manage through to get us where we're at. So great opportunity to really figure out what my next move was. And I'm raised 2 amazing kids, if I do say so myself. And my son went on to play football at the University of Delaware. And it was at that point in time, as he was transitioning out, that I said, okay, what's next for Laurie? And what do I need to do to go to that next level? I spent the last 10 years really focused on my family. Now it was Laurie's time, and seeing his transition kickstarted me thinking, there's a need here. Let's see what we can do to support people in this space, transitioning through life. As I said, lost my husband. My daughter's on the spectrum, so had to manage through that. So I created On the Court Solutions as a solution for understanding the lessons that I learned on the court and how that's going to transition off. So great opportunity. And it all really started with my saying yes to wanting to get that scholarship and then working towards that and moving in that direction.
Okay, so everybody that is a speaker, everyone that's written a book, everyone that coaches, you have to have a framework. You have to have a system. You have to have some principles that you think the world needs to hear, that you've seen work for you and work for your people. What, like in a nutshell, give us an overview of what your system is or your philosophy in that regard?
So my system is essentially the court. As I said, a lot of who I am, who Laurie is today, was learned on the court. So what is that? C is for clarity. You have to understand where you're going, what you want to do, what you're trying to accomplish. So if you don't understand that, you're not going to be able to get where you're trying to go. Optimization, you need to put systems in place to ensure your success. If you just throw out and want to do X, and then you don't have a plan and a system in place to ensure that you're getting there and that you're able to measure each step, it's going to be difficult. You also need to understand who you are. What are your talents? What are your gifts? Who are the people in your network, in your community, in your village, if you will, that is there that can support you in moving to that next level? And then it's just down and dirty resilience. You're going to fall down anytime you're trying something new, anytime you're branching off and trying something different. It's not going to always look pretty, but you have to get back up and keep moving forward. And then it's just tenacity. You just have to dig in hard. It's like the fourth quarter, you're tired, you're down 2 points. What are you going to do? You just have to keep fighting and understanding that why. And that's where that clarity comes in. Why do you want what you want? What is it that you want? And then you're able to really continue to fight for it, especially when you're down and it's not going your way and you're confused and you're lost. Keep focusing on that why, and then just keep hustling, keep grinding.
Okay, Laurie, when you were an athlete, which one of those 5 principles did you struggle with the best?
Understanding. And what I mean by that, I always did things, I can do it. I don't need any help. I can figure it out on my own. But recognizing as I've continued to grow and to develop that you can't do this alone. You need people in your corner to support you, particularly when you're down and you're feeling lost. You need people to be there to support you. You don't have to do all of this by yourself.
What is the thing you did the best when you were an athlete?
Probably resilience and tenacity, just that grit, that fight. I wanted it.
Hunger, grit, all those things. Okay. Because your son inspired you to do this, you didn't do it for yourself, but when you saw it happening to your son, you were motivated to act. What is his first name?
Benjamin.
Benjamin. Okay, so Ben, what was he struggling with that you're like, I know, I've been there. I know what he needs. What was it?
So like many athletes thinking they're going to transition into the pros. And when that didn't happen, it's what do I do now? Who am I outside of football? And what direction do I need to go in? I think part of the issue where the struggle comes in is the understanding when you're in it, understanding and leveraging all of the resources that you have at hand, and also understanding who you are outside of the game. So for him, who am I? What is my purpose? What is the next thing that I need to do?
How did you help him find his identity?
Just through conversation and allowing him to explore. What is it that you enjoy doing? And then let's dig into that. What does that look like? Let's play that out. So for him, it was personal training. And really for him, it was helping other people reach their fitness goals. So he started there. And from there, it just continued to build his confidence in who he was and allowed for him to do something that's, instead of focusing on himself, it allowed him to focus on others and helping them reach their goals.
In my experience in working with pros, they have a really good sense of clarity and optimization because they wouldn't get to that level without it. Where they struggle is on their identity. Because of what they do and how successful they are, their family, their friends, the media, and everyone sees them as a football player. And so they automatically start seeing themselves as a football player. And they forget that they're a person outside of their sport. They forget that there's someone important separate from their sport. And they forget that they're not defined by their performance in their sport. They're really defined by who they are.
Yes.
And they forget who they are. Along the same lines as you shared, one of the things I ask my people to do is find the intersection between what you love to do and what you feel called to do, which is usually in alignment with what your natural gifts are and what your talents are. And that hot spot is the place, whatever that is. And it's usually right in front of their nose, but they can't see it.
I 100% agree. I think it's what is that thing that you've always done and that you've always enjoyed? Or who were you when you were in middle school? And who were you and what did you do when you were in high school? And if you can tap into that, I believe in self-reflecting, just taking a look back and just looking at all of the things. And sometimes it's just an exercise of writing it all down, seeing it in black and white. And from there, you will see some of the same or similar things just continue to pop up over the span of your life. And if you can tap into that and then go explore and do things to allow for you to continue to focus on that area. And I think that helps in seeing yourself outside of just being an athlete.
I think one of the best things we all can do is go back to being 7. Because at 7, we thought we could do anything, be anything. There was nothing wrong with us. The world hadn't told us yet that we were too short, too fat, too slow, too something, not enough of something else. And as we go through life, we get those kind of things piled on us as we go through. And then all of a sudden we don't think we can do anything. And you're 6'2", so you're a tall young lady. There are some people that are 6'2" in basketball that play like they're 5'8". They play small. And there's some athletes that are 5'8". You can't believe they're 5'8" because they play like they're 6'2", right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's when somebody's not in alignment with who they really are. They play small. They don't realize they've got long arms. They're taller than most of the girls on the court, right?
Yes.
Same thing comes true with our identity. We don't always know. We don't believe what we see in the mirror. So self-reflection is excellent. In addition to that, I have my people ask their friends and their family really awesome questions.
Yeah.
Because you know your kids. Every mother knows their kids. Every dad knows their kids. Any parent that's involved knows their kids. Sometimes we know them better than they know them.
Exactly.
So when's the last time you told a lie to your kid to try to hurt him? You don't.
You don't.
You don't. They'll ask you, you're going to tell them the truth.
Exactly.
But they don't want to ask you. They don't even think to ask you. But so some kids, at 3-4 years older are grabbing dolls. Some are grabbing fire trucks. Some are grabbing balls. They show their inclinations at a young age. It doesn't typically change.
That's true. Absolutely.
Okay, Laurie, let's talk about the value of resilience and tenacity. Once you're in the game, once you're, flowing, never goes the way you thought it was going to go. You always get thrown some curveballs. Ball doesn't bounce your way. Those two seem to come into play when the proverbial shit hits the fan, so to speak. So how do you define resilience and tenacity? How do they work together? How do they show up? How do you utilize them in your systems so that people can advance in their careers and in their goals?
Yeah, resilient. I think a lot of people, when they think, someone recently had said to me, when I think of you, I think of grit. And I said, okay, I absolutely will buy that. that's just resilience and tenacity to me, just really digging in. And you're, like you said, you're going to have, life is going to throw, if you're in the middle of the game or if you're in the middle of life, things are going to happen where you're going to get knocked down. You will, if you have it, it's going to eventually happen. You're going to get knocked down. But when you're on the court, if you turn the ball over and you hang your head down, the opponents are going to be up the court scoring a point. And you can't let that happen. You just have to suck it up and you have to turn around and not focus on the emotion of it. Like, man, I did that. I'm upset. You can't focus on that emotion. You have to continue to do the job. A job needs to continue to be done. I use it as an example when my husband passed. That's why, just so many lessons. Just when my husband passed, it's like, I have to stay focused. I have to keep moving forward. Certainly, I have to focus on what has just happened to my family and sit in that for a minute, but I can't stay there for long. So when I think of resilience, it's about, okay, it happens, you reflect, you move forward. And as you continue to move, sometimes you have to move quicker than you think. And if you're in the middle of a game, of course, if you just did a turnover, you have to keep moving forward. And tenacity is just, all right, I got to suck it up and I have to go down and get a turnover or get the rebound or block the shot, whatever that might be. That's that, okay, I messed up, but let me turn it around. That's when the tenacity comes in and you just scrap it out.
Well, one of the things that happens too often is when someone has an emotional response in a game, and we're not at a dead ball time. It's not like a timeout. The game doesn't stop. So when you have an emotional response, when an athlete has an emotional response, it's usually because they didn't succeed as much as they were hoping, didn't make the shot or whatever it may be in basketball. But what they don't realize is the emotional response causes them to have a second problem because they don't get back on defense. They don't do what they were supposed to do. So now you've compounded the problem by not staying connected in the game. And so my condolences for your husband. When your husband passed, what was your biggest challenge as a spouse, as a partner, and move forward?
It immediately went to my kids. My son was going into the 8th grade, and that's, you have sons, that's a pivotal time for a young man. So immediately went to my kids. Certainly I leaned on my family and I leaned on my faith to get me through, but it immediately, how am I going to make sure that they are okay? Whatever okay meant for them, how was I going to make sure that they were okay? And what did that look like? And how am I going to continue to move this family forward with as little disruption as possible?
What's the legacy that your husband left that you passed on to your kids? Even though he was gone physically, you continued to inspire your kids, guide your kids, parent your kids, coach your kids because of something you learned from your husband.
Just conversation. My husband was a talker. He had stories and always just taking the time to sit down and really have a conversation, and also just an open door policy. Sometimes the son shared things that I was like, wow, okay, thank you for sharing that. But that was the thing. And there were times that I would hear my son say, oh yeah, daddy talked to me about that already. Or yeah, daddy said this. So it just continued to, keep him alive in the family, to allow for my son to be able to have the conversations and open conversations with me as well.
What is the thing that you see in Benjamin that you saw in your husband? What lives on very strongly as a personality trait or as a value that is in your son now?
Benjamin They're both Benjamins, by the way. My son picked up the trait of helping others. I think he picked it up from both of us, but definitely Benjamin is a protector. My husband was a protector, if you will, and Benjamin protects his friends and is there to support his friends. And a lot of them will go to him for if they have a problem that they're dealing with. And he's a great, very wise, and he had to grow up quickly, if you will, but very wise beyond his years.
How old is Benjamin, by the way, now?
He's 31.
31. Young man. Okay. You have any grandkids yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. So in your workshops and your coaching, you address the topic of authenticity. What does that mean?
I think this is part of connecting with others. You need to first lead in being authentic yourself. If I am trying to develop a relationship with you and work with you to support you, you have to know that, I am here. This is who I am. This is my desire and what I'd like to do to support you in getting you to the next level. So when you are authentic, I think it allows for the other person to be dropped down, probably some of their guard, and then allow for them to truly have a conversation and be able to share things beyond just surface.
I call it being real.
Absolutely.
If you're real, people will respond to you in real fashion.
Absolutely.
If you're guarded, they'll be guarded. If you're a leader, if you're a coach, if you're a mentor, and you're not vulnerable and you're not real, they're not going to be real back. It really is like the key to, you've got the key in every conversation to create a safe portal, so to speak, where people can share.
That part.
And if you don't open it up, they are not going to go there.
No, that's 100% true. And it's about building that trust. And when you can share with others, hey, I struggle with this too, or this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I've dealt with. Let me show you how. And that's partly why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to say, hey, this is what I've dealt with and this is what I've gone through. Let me show you how I can take you through that. And when you're able to do that, you're building trust as a manager, as a leader in a business or a company or a coach. You have to build that trust, that relationship with your players so that they feel comfortable in coming to you and know that it's not going to be punitive if they say something that they may be lacking in.
Okay. Have you ever coached?
Basketball, yes.
Oops. Okay. Let's pretend that you were the head coach of a WNBA team. How would you, bunch of very talented ladies, egos, competition, everybody's playing for, trying to make money, all the normal stuff that they do. How would you utilize your system of court to win a championship? Not using it to win, but using it to up-level their performance that would naturally lead to them being in the position to potentially win.
Sure. For me, it's the foundation and building that foundation so that they can understand what is the goal? What are we trying to accomplish here? And understanding who are all the pieces and parts that are going to play in our success. And then putting a plan and a system together. So it's about building relationships with the team. Everyone needs to be comfortable with their role on the team. So, and it starts with the coach in defining, hey, this is what I see. This is the plan that I have, that we have as a coaching staff for the team. And these are our expectations. And when you can provide the expectations and then allow for them to then understand where they fit and the value that they bring in whatever area that they're in, I think that will allow for them to then see the bigger picture work better together and continuing to develop those relationships, they can then see where each other's weaknesses are, and we can step in and fill the gap where needed. And then when we're in it, really being there to pick each other up. So everyone from the people who are playing to the people who are sitting on the bench, all of us having an understanding what is the game plan for this year, for this game, and then working together to support each other and root each other on. And then, more importantly, when we're in practice, getting after each other, making each other better, everyone elevating their game to allow for them understanding who they are, what they need to work on, so that when we're in practice, we're really challenging each other to be the absolute best. And then certainly having the mindset of a winner, understanding you're not perfect. There's areas that you need to work on. Let's work on those areas, because it's the bigger picture is that we want to win as a team. I didn't become a Hall of Famer starting out saying, I want to be a Hall of Famer. I want to win. How are we going to do that? What's my role on the team? And how can I help my team get the win? That's what it's all about. And we need unselfish players and players that are really going to support each other.
I love that. I think most coaches fail to communicate in such a way to their team that this is your role. And if they do communicate it, the players don't receive it. And so they're stepping on each other's toes because they thought they don't understand the role. What I would add to what you said, I love what you said. Absolutely love it. I would just say that today, this is what it is. It's going to change tomorrow. That in a month, we're not even going to have the same starting five. By the end of the season, we're not even going to have the same team. And everybody's role is going to evolve. And there's going to be somebody in here that doesn't feel like they're being seen. They're not valued, maybe the first game. And their mom, their dad, their agent, or somebody's going to be, speaking in their ear that, hey, you're more than this. Well, as you show that you're more, you're going to be more, and your role's going to change. So people are going to get injured. Somebody's got to step up, next person up. So I think that what I see in professional sports is that the coaches don't always communicate clearly what their role is. And more importantly than that your role is dynamic and it will change. It's either going to get better or it's going to get worse.
Right.
If you're not putting in the work, you're not performing, it's going to get worse. You think being second string, the sixth person's bad? What if you're the ninth person? In basketball, you're not probably going to get in most games if you're the ninth one on the bench.
Right.
That's good. As a Hall of Famer, I did not look up your accolades and statistics. Why were you a Hall of Famer? What did you accomplish that was worthiness consistent with being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
If you don't look at the stats, certainly the stats are there, rebound, score, points, and things like that. But I think it's really about the leadership. It's about the fact that when I started, we were probably 7-15 my freshman year, to ending at 21-8 my senior year. So it's just the evolution of not only my game, the leadership, and the buy-in to what we were doing and what we wanted to accomplish with the program. And we saw so many changes, and being a part of that is probably the proudest moment for me. So for me, it was really just about being there to see the shift of the old into the new program and being a part of that and doing whatever I could on and off the court to get us to where we are. I was just down in Richmond. To raise the banner for the A10 regular season and conference championship a couple of weekends ago. So to see that and to go and be able to participate in that. So sure, did some great things on the court, but my goal was to win. I just wanted to win. I wasn't worried about what the stats were going to look like.
I think most Hall of Famers are in that same light. They want to be champions and they want to elevate their teammates to be champions because they realize they can't do it by themselves. You can be the all-time scoring leader and you'd probably be in the Hall of Fame because of your stats. But the ones, I mean, you look at the best of the best. I mean, in football, Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. Now, he's not even in the Hall of Fame yet because he's not eligible. But it's like he's a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer. But if you look in basketball, Kobe and Shaq and all these guys, Michael Jordan, it's because of the championships. And they brought people with them.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about them, you know? Wilt Chamberlain went to my alma mater, and, you know, Wilt was unbelievable back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see some of those kind of guys playing today to see what they would be like.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That would be amazing.
That would be super cool. Walk me through an assessment, because when you coach, like when I coach people, first thing I do is an assessment. I want to know what's going on. I want to know, you know, it's like in basketball. I want to know, can you dribble with your left hand? Can your offhand? You know, can you make a layup? If we're talking about little kids, can you make a layup? Can you make a layup with your offhand? You know, do you see the whole court? All those kind of things. What position? You know, a lot of people see the game with their back to the goal. Most people see the game with their face when they're facing the goal. Some people are offensive minded. Some people are defensive minded. They get more thrill and accomplishment out of getting a steal or blocking a shot than they do scoring a point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that don't know what defense looks like. They don't even want to go down the other side of the court. They just want to cherry pick on the offensive side of the court. So you naturally do an assessment. So you can create your practices, emphasize your fundamentals, whatever it may be in basketball, so that you can make whatever their weaknesses are strengths.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How do you do an assessment in on the court solutions, your business, when you're helping people perhaps make a transition from sport to normal person, from getting fired in a job to getting another job?
Right.
Maybe the passing of a spouse, passing of a child, all these things, all these grief things that really can be challenges, as you well know. How do you do an assessment?
So, of course, it's a conversation. It's or you know, you could have them fill out a form, but at its foundational point, it's really about where are you, what's going on, what brought you here, what is keeping you stuck, where would you like to go? And then, of course, under those 3 things, you really then dig in a little more. Where are you? So what's the situation that's going on? Why did you reach out and want to have a conversation with me? Or why do you want to get a coach? So understanding the why. And then what's keeping you stuck? Why aren't you moving forward? What have you done? What are you doing? And we just dig into that as well. And then where do you want to go? And then from the where do you want to go, it's, are you really ready to make the change? Have you set up in your mind that I really need to move forward and move away from these things that are hindering me? Are you committed to doing it? And if so, let's start developing a plan to get you there.
So as a consultant, even a mainstream business consultant, you pretty much do a similar type of process of figuring out where they're at, where they want to go, how profitable do they want to be, and what is the gap, you know, and what hurdle is in that gap? What's the mental construct that's keeping them where they're at? What is their lack of self-belief, lack of self-confidence, some failure that they've absorbed? Like when people get fired, it's so crazy because they think they did 99% of the time, they didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
You know, they're downsizing. They're trying to get rid of your big salary. They got too many people doing the same job. You know, it's a new management. It's a merger and acquisition type situation where the person from the other side is going to take over that role, and they don't need two of you. And people still think there's something wrong with them because they quote unquote got fired.
Yeah.
So how do you help people detach from their circumstances in their current circumstances? Because if you are attached to your circumstances, you can't move. It's tough to move.
Absolutely. I think that you're attached to what you see. I think there's also a level of family, and there's also a level of community. What is my community going to say? I am no longer director of whatever, or I'm no longer I'm not currently starting. What is my family going to say, and what's the impact of that? And then, of course, you're dealing with your own emotions and feelings behind it. So what I would challenge is just to reframe it and to look at it as, okay, so this is a loss, but there's still an opportunity. So trying to show the person to continue to look forward and also to take a look behind to see what they've accomplished and how can I leverage the things that I've learned in order to catapult me to the next level. Then there's a level of exploring, what is that next level? What does that look like?
I ran into someone yesterday that works at a homeless shelter, and we had a great conversation about just the mindset of a homeless person. And that's someone that in their current situation, they became hopeless and they were attached to their failures. Maybe they were mistreated. Maybe they were, things were unfair, whatever the case may be, and they're stuck. And so we sometimes can live in a house and still be homeless because we are stuck.
Absolutely. Yeah. That it is a mindset. It's something that you have to, what I say often is that life is going to happen, but you can choose how you respond to it. You may not be able to change the system, the circumstance. I could still be homeless, but how do I respond? How do I dig myself out of that to allow for me to move forward in whatever area that I need? So just understanding the choice in responding to whatever that situation is, and then allowing yourself to then see that there is hope. Because I think when you have hope, then that's something I can work with. I hope, I desire, I want to move forward. What is that going to look like? So let's start putting things in place to be able to work through that.
I agree. I think hope is priceless. If you don't have hope, a lot of times it permeates everything, and it causes you to really stay stuck.
Yes.
You can't get any positive momentum going. You can't change. You can't shift, all those things that describe, moving out of your current circumstances if you don't have hope.
Yeah. If you don't believe that you can do it, that you can get out of it, that you can get through it, that you can figure it out, yeah, you're going to be stuck. And that's something that you have to figure out. What are those things, those limited beliefs that are holding me up? What are those past experiences that are preventing me from moving forward? And then you have to believe that and desire to want to get over that. And some of that with coaching, we could talk through what does that look like, and we can play those things out, but you have to believe.
One of the things that I find is very interesting is that when I played sports, I thought belief and confidence were the same thing. Just a different way of saying it. And as I've gotten older and represented all these players for all these years, it's very clear to me. There's a very strong line of demarcation between belief and confidence. Belief is all about who you are as a woman, who you are in the roles that you play. It's not necessarily about what you do. Confidence is about your skills and what you do. So you've probably seen these people, like in sports. They believe in themselves, they just can't shoot. And they just keep shooting because they don't know they're not any good. So they believe. Why can they keep shooting? Because they believe. Well, the more they keep shooting, the better they get, the more their confidence grows, and they don't take a hint on their belief. And then you have these other athletes, these other basketball players that as long as they make it, they got to make the first shot of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Good now. I made my first shot. Miss the first shot, they don't take the second shot until the second half. It's like they're afraid to shoot because they don't have belief in themselves. So to have belief, so at least from my perspective, and I want your opinion on this. I want your perspective. Mm-hmm. Belief is a choice. It's a decision you make about you. I can choose to believe in myself that I could be an astronaut, that I could be the president, I could be all these things. Now I have to go to work, but I can still believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Where confidence comes from reps, confidence comes from small wins, and it comes from like a multitude of successes. I'm confident that I can do X because I just do it. And honestly, when I was shooting 500 shots in this, a day in the summer, I felt entitled to shoot because I was the one doing the most work.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on confidence and belief?
I agree. Confidence, I think, it's about that repetition. I think that it's about studying the game, craft, whatever you're doing, studying that, putting time into it. And as you continue to do it, you're building your confidence along the way. And then I think a belief is, I believe that I can run a marathon. That should be easy. But then when you get to the line, if you've not prepared, are you going to be confident that you're going to finish? So it's about, believing. And I think, I believe that anything is possible when you put your mind to it. But so let's take writing as an example and writing my book. I never thought I don't see myself as a writer. I didn't see myself as a writer. But until I wrote and continue to write and get the feedback that I've gotten, it's built my confidence. And then that will allow for me to continue to feel confident in my ability to write, my ability to, if you want to be a speaker, if you want to be a coach somewhere, it's about the reps. The confidence comes with putting in the work is where you're going to build your confidence. I think you had said earlier about I'm 6'2", some 6'2" folks play small, some 6'2" play 5'8", play big. It's so true. It's about the confidence in myself and knowing that I've put the work in, understanding what my talent is, what my skills are, and that I can do it. And that I can come to the court with confidence that my game, I'm ready to go. I've practiced, I prepared, let's go. I'm ready.
Well, one of the things I've seen with confidence is there's at least 3 different confidence busters. One is comparison. You think you're ready for the game until you look at the other team warming up in basketball, and the person's doing
walking in the gym.
You're just walking, you're feeling good, but you see how big they are. Okay. Or you see somebody do a 360 slam or whatever it may be. Another one that destroys confidence is a scoreboard. When players look at scoreboards and it's not looking like what they were hoping it would look like, they stop doing their best. They just quit. They quit in their head, or they get selfish. It's like, hey, I got to get mine. It's like, this game's over, so I'm just going to throw up my threes. Another one that destroys people's confidence is desperation. This is, like, let's take in track. You have 5 attempts to get over the bar and high jump. You're on your fifth one and you're looking at, you feel desperate. It's hard to be confident when you're desperate. But when you were on your first jump, you didn't feel desperate. Then on the other person, let's say there's only 2 people left in the competition, they cleared on their first jump. Now you're comparing. So now your confidence meter just keeps going down.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually you get to the 5th one and you scratch it because you don't give yourself a chance to clear it.
Right.
And it's a height you've cleared before, but you're in your own head and you lose your confidence. Now I see those kind of things. I see it in basketball too. The thing I love to see in basketball, it used to honestly piss me off, but now I just am amused. Less than a minute to go in the game. Obviously, every situation is different, but the team that has the ball's behind, and it's a 2-possession game. They have to get 2 scores. So they do the little dribble around the 3-point arc and hand off to their teammate. Nobody's looking at the basket. Nobody's shooting.
Yeah.
Then the clock's down to like 5 seconds. So somebody throws up a desperation 3. Of course, it never goes in. Game's over. All you got to do is look for your shot, take your shot, have 5 people crashing the boards, and see if you can make it when you got some space.
Yeah,
burning the clock.
Right. Isn't it, though, just about trying to get the win on this one attempt versus playing it out, working the plan, and then, so if you look at the high jumper, one jump is a new ball game. You are still in the game. So it's if you can flip the switch to think about, I'm still in it, versus, oh my gosh, I only have 2 more jumps left. No, I have 1 jump right now that I have to focus on. I'm going to do all of the things that my coach and my preparation has taught me to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that jump. And then I get another attempt. It's like taking I work in nursing and it's a standardized exam and it's based upon ability. The computer shuts off once the test makers have assessed whether or not you have answered all of the answers correctly or incorrectly. So it's about every time you get a question, every time you get an opportunity to do the jump, you're still in the game. Focus on that one instance and then go back and then reassess and then do it again until, of course, the clock runs out or the number of attempts run out.
Here's what I see, Laurie. Humans struggle with being in the moment. And they want to bring the future to the present. The outcomes, the expectations, the recognition, the disappointment. And so when there's, 50 seconds to go in the game and mathematically it's possible to take a shot, make the 3, go defend, get a rebound down and score and win, they're so focused on the outcome now instead of like you said, playing it out. That's like being all stressed out about today because of tomorrow. Well, tomorrow may not be here. So let's just enjoy today. Let's enjoy this rep. Let's enjoy this possession, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I see that all the time where athletes struggle being in the moment, being in the uncertainty of what might happen. A lot of players would rather not shoot, hold the ball, and then take a desperation 3. That the percentage of making it probably goes from 40% to 5%. Then take the 40 when they don't know if it's going to be one of the 60 or one of the 40. Is it a make or a miss?
Yeah. It's the nerves of I don't want to take the shot. So you've seen that where they just keep throwing it at each other because no one wants to take the shot. And it's like, I don't know if it's because you don't want to lose the game, but someone needs to step up and take the shot to give the team the best chances of winning. And you have to raise your game you have to go to another level of confidence that you can do it. It's like, I want the ball. Give me the ball. I know what I can do with the ball. And you need to, continue to develop that. So as we're transitioning through all of our experiences, it's the same thing. It's that belief in the work that you've put in and what you've already accomplished. You can use it for this moment and allowing yourself to do that, confidently walking into it and knowing, yeah, I got this.
Well, I call it the performance bubble. And when you create a performance bubble, everything that serves you and is for you gets to come in your headspace, and everything that doesn't. Fears and doubts and potential failures and disappointments and getting screamed at by your coach and having a conversation with your mom or dad or somebody after the game because you might miss it doesn't get to come in. All your preparation, your belief in yourself, your confidence in your skills does get to come in so that you can play freely, be in the flow, let it go. It's going to be what it's going to be. And you have another moment, whether it's a make or miss, to respond to that moment. Let's live fully in this one and understand that once the next one comes, we'll live in that one too. And I think that people try to short circuit the process and not really enjoy the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they were enjoying the moment, they'd take the shot. Whoever's open and is a pretty good 3-point shooter is going to take that shot, should take that shot. Their team, here's the crazy thing is there's no such thing as a victimless crime in sports. And what I mean by that is when you don't take the shot and you could, and you should, and you're the best percentage 3-point shooter on your team, you think you're not hurting anybody because you didn't take the shot and miss it. You actually hurt your teammates and your team and your coach and your fans because you didn't take the shot.
Exactly.
That's flipping the mindset and the perspective for an athlete, a basketball player, that, those are the types of things I would tell my team at the beginning of the season before we even play a game, that your teammates are depending on you to take the shot that they know you can make.
Right. Exactly. And it's part of understanding your role on the team and believing that, embracing that, and just doing what you can to make sure that you're doing the job that's needed to be done out of you for that particular game, for that particular situation. Same thing with free throws. I want Laurie to get fouled because at the end of the game because she's a great free throw shooter. And then me stepping up to the line and making the basket.
No, it's an interesting phenomenon to watch the end of a basketball game. That's a close game. 2-possession game or less. It is very interesting. You see a lot of psychological indicators when you watch a game like that. If someone's up by 20 or 30, that doesn't apply. But if it's a game that's going back and forth at the end, when they start thinking about the end, before the end, you see players self-destruct.
Absolutely. You have a 10-point lead. Now it's 2 points because you're holding the ball and turning it over.
You're not looking at the basket when you have open shots and you don't see them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Laurie, you have a book. Share with us the title and the message in the book, the theme of the book.
Yeah, the book is focused on leadership, and it's called On the Court, and it's how to create, lead, and win in your life and business.
Awesome. Where can people find you if they want to check you out?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn under my name, Laurie Governor Curtis. And or you can check out my website at lauriegcurtis.com.
Thank you so much today. Enjoyed talking hoops with you. Want to wish you and your family the best during the holiday season. And I want to thank you for being on Pro Mindset.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, it's Craig Domann, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show, and more importantly, I hope you gained a pro mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast, and I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.